LPF Debrief.
Welcome, fellow last placers, to another episode of LPF Debrief, where Chris and I talk about comic books, movies, and TV shows. And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about Halo, episode 3, featured on Paramount Plus. It's the only place you can watch it. If you have Game Pass, they are giving 30 days free. This is not sponsored. I'm just helping you out. But Paramount Plus, if you want to, come on down. We're taking all applications, and we're going to start the episode the same way we always do by shaming Yendi for not watching the content that we watch, especially Halo.
Shame.
Shame. Also, if you guys are wondering why we're wearing the same shirts from the Moon Knight LPF debrief, it's because we recorded this right after that. They just came out on different times. It is what it is. We're trying to get this content out here for you guys, and there's a lot coming out, so it is what it is. So don't think, that, we recorded it on Sunday and just dropped it on Sunday when we are dropping it, but just letting you guys know, just in case you didn't. So let's get right into it. As always, guys, there's going to be spoilers. So if you don't want to hear the spoilers, stop now, save it for later. And then if you do like spoilers, just stick around. Like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think about the episode also. And let's get right into it. Chris, episode 3 of Halo. What'd you think?
I enjoyed it. I know there's going to be complaints about this one or the series in general, but I'm finally in a point where, right, I know that they're telling their whole own story. I'm just along for the ride. That's it. And oddly enough, because I did complain about Cortana whenever we saw the trailer, I like everybody else, but hearing her voice was more calming than anything. I was just like, this is nice. Like, I'm down. So I enjoyed it a lot. Wrote so many notes, and I saw a lot of cool things that were different. The hunter situation was different, but I get the species. Also, the what was it? The mentions of grunts and stuff like that. So I know we're gonna see more and more things as it goes along. But overall, I'm having fun with the show now that I fully sat down and I'm like, okay, like I'm just gonna watch it. Just watch it. And what we said last week keeps playing in my mind about how we're seeing like the beginning of Chief, I guess you could say. So and you can see that with him and Cortana's relationship. Like, he has nothing to do with it. Also, Cortana, the implement of Cortana is different. I don't think what they did in the show is, because they gave us the iconic, what?
I said it was violent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As soon as I saw the eye thing, I thought of you because I know it's you that you're like, no. So they did the iconic clip of, actually, of my Chief here, right here. Yeah. So they did the iconic thing of having Cortana. Of course, but it's in the
a little bit different too because they obviously did a whole
I pulled that whole thing out, but it's supposed to slide out, but it was the clip, right? Yeah. So she's in here, puts it in the helmet, but they were like, "Oh yeah, here's the thing." So they showed it, and I thought they were gonna put it in the helmet, but then they break the capsule open and inject it into him. So I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
They want full control. Yeah, they want full control over Chief. So, and I thought that was interesting. So like I said, they're doing everything different. And they were just like, we're just going to make this look very pretty and show you Chief and show you the Covenant and everything like that. And we want to tell our story, and I'm here for it. But yeah, I enjoyed it overall.
All right. So I'm just going to start with, so Cortana being in the show has been the comforting part, I feel. And like I said, Jen Taylor's doing a fantastic job. I loved the scene where her and Cortana are talking, essentially, and then you can see how smart they are because Cortana's already, well, not Cortana, but the clone of Doctor is there, and they're having that conversation of just basically life, which I thought was really, really cool because imagine being this, genius scientist having a conversation with yourself, but thinking about things just a little bit differently, like, oh, why'd you do this or why'd you do that? Like, you know what I mean? But having that whole concept of being who you are, just thinking just a little bit differently, you know what I mean? So I thought that was really, really cool, and I really enjoyed that part. Here's my thing, and I'm just trying to find out, like I said again, and I talked about this in the last episode of Debrief. It's like I understand where what they're doing. I'm just trying to find out how necessary is it to change the story, especially something as far as the way Cortana is transported in the system, right? Because like, is that a necessity in the sense that she had to be in his brain? Like, you know what I mean? And I
Well,
try to think of these things, and I know why they did it. They did it because obviously they want it to be so that they don't have to show the suit as much. It's why they did it. Because realistically, when you think about it, they just plan on showing Chief outside the suit more, and they don't want Cortana to only appear like be like an electronic chip thing if you know what I mean,
if he's going to
if
be
he's
out in the
not in the
public and
suit.
stuff like that. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So that's why they did it. That's why they did the method that they did, which okay, that's fine. But again, how like I understand we're telling a prequel story, which again, it still leaves me hope. I haven't like I'm gonna watch it all the way through because I just feel like obviously like I'm gonna hold on to that hope of maybe we get the Master Chief that we've grown up with later on. I just like I said, Cortana showing up is definitely a breath of fresh air. I do feel like they didn't have to change her design. I again, another thing that I just don't understand why, right? Like what is the reason for like we couldn't get Cortana exactly the way she looked? Like you know what I mean? It's one of those things like did you have to change the design of the character? What does the changing of the design of the character do for the story? Like it's an artificial AI. She could have looked the same way that she does. You even have the same voice actress for the character. So why does she look different? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And these are the things that like as a common a common TV person, they're probably not even going to care about that. But again, when you're doing something as Halo, the people that you're trying to please first are the Halo fans because you know they're the ones who are going to watch the show. Like, you know what I mean? And if they start to have a negative reaction towards it, then they're going to trickle that down. You know what I mean? We already had the actor come out and saying, like, people who have been saying, oh, they don't like the show. And he's like, oh, I respect you guys. Like, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So you're already getting a form of backlash that I don't feel like would have been necessary. And I feel like this is a common trend with video game adaptations where they just try to change the story or change the things too much and then you end up losing like that premise, and then once you lose that premise you lose the audience, and then you realize that the fans that you were trying to bring in to like that casual, they're not there either. So now you just have these franchises that you no longer are like, I don't really care about this anymore, like, you know what I mean? Because we've seen it with a lot of video game titles. It's happened a lot, like more than successes. So I think they did some interesting moves. Like I said, you could still save it all. I just don't, like I said, with 9 episodes, how quick are we going to get to Halo? Which I think is important. Like, how quick are we going to get to Halo? And are you going to tell that whole story within that after? You know what I mean? Because again, you're not guaranteed a season 2 in television, and that's one of the things that separates it from movies is that with a movie you can at least tell the whole story that you wanted to tell, but you're not guaranteed a sequel. So I'm wondering if they are doing this based off of knowing that they might get a second season, or because again we don't know the numbers,
That's what
the
I think.
streaming
I think
numbers
they had
yet.
enough money left over to where they're like, we're gonna start the
Yeah,
second season.
yeah, but that's not up to them though.
Yeah,
That's the
true.
thing. It's not about the money. It's about like viewership. If like if Paramount looks at it and goes, all right, I don't think we should fund season 2, even if they have clips and stuff like that, they'll just scrap it
Hmm.
because they won't find a benefit if they're not getting the numbers. You might have gotten your initial numbers, which is the episode 1 of the show. You could have gotten those initial numbers, like those initial subscribers. But if a month from now your numbers drop, then the show that you brought people in to watch, they've only watched 4 episodes and they were like, well, I'm done. You know, so that's the interesting thing about the TV show. So I'm interested to see how much of the, how many people are actually like enjoying the show itself. I would be like, again, I've never have the full numbers. We just don't have access to that information. So but as far as like I understand what they're doing. I just don't feel where we're taking this story is fully necessary. I get it. You want to tell that story to make Chief feel more human, but again, do we need Chief to feel more human at the point where we would want him to catch up to the spot where he will be in Halo? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or do we want, you know what I mean? So, I did think the relationship was fun. The relationship between Cortana and Chief is showing that fun relationship that they've had on in the games, which I thought was really cool because it's like, the little bickering and the little like smart remarks, and then you could just see like Chief's face kind of being like, "What are you talking about?" Like, you know what I mean? So I do appreciate them trying to get that to get that in. Yeah, but overall, I still don't know how I feel about the series, and I think that's a problem being 3 episodes in for me
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely like you said, it's weird, and what they're doing is weird. Um, Halsey, I mean, in the first, like, you don't really hear about Dr. Halsey in the game until.
No, and like I said, that's fine. If you want to tell Halsey's story and tell this prequel, like you can do it. I don't find a problem with what they're trying to do. What I'm saying is like it all depends on the result. Like you can do all of this and then get to like let's say they get to like episode like 7 or something and it's Chief from the games, like I don't think anyone will have a problem with the beginning of the beginning series. Like if you went like 6 episodes of saying, all right, this is their back story, but from here on out, we're gonna give you the Master Chief you want. Like, you know what I mean? Then I think people can that word of mouth and that, hey, like, okay, they went back to like the roots kind of thing, or
Yeah.
they went to what they're showing a lot of appeal to the game. It just like I said, with everything going the way that it's looking, it just doesn't look like they're going that way, right?
Yeah.
Like with every episode that comes out, it kind of like inches you a little bit more away from that story, you know? And again, I don't like when you start to add other stories that I feel like are not necessary to Chief, right? Like to Chief or to Halo in within that part. Because like a character like Quam and stuff like that, like and everything that's going on Madrigal, like is it like how much of that is affected to the story? Like from what we're already watching, I can tell you that Madrigal, the only like benefit that it's going to bring from what we're seeing right now is going to be that's where Chief is going to see Quam on there, and then we're going to see what's her name, and they're going to meet on Madrigal.
Well, hopefully it's another puzzle piece to finding Halo, because that's where she wants to start. Because if not, if they go there and it's just that, then yeah, you're right. There is no point to
But that's what I'm
that
saying though. But
planet.
that's the key because right now, which that whole scene, and also I have a whole issue with that scene because
Which one?
why didn't when what's her name? It starts with the M.
Hold on.
Yeah, it starts with an M. Her character when she comes in to the ship, right, and then she goes, "Okay, let's let all this loose," which is kind of like a hint to the flood, I would assume.
Oh no, it wasn't. It was so. That's the thing. So whenever she's in the ship, you see on the side, right? You see the armor, and it's hunter armor.
Yeah,
I know this because I was obsessed with hunters because they freak you out
Yeah.
and everything. So hunters are made up out of these weird worms
yeah,
that are in together. So that was the first time that we saw. Whenever I saw it take over the ship like that, I was like, "Oh, that's different." Because I was totally expecting this giant A hunter to come out with the fusion rifle and start
Yeah.
blowing things up. But instead, they separated, which we've never seen before. Which I'm like, okay, that makes
that's-
sense for the race, but also that's really out there for me.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think like I'm not saying that like I knew the hunters were made out of the worms. I'm saying the way that they attacked was like
Oh, like the
flood.
flood, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it was
Okay.
kind of like a foreshadow if we see it later on.
Maki is
what
her name, by the way.
Yeah, Maki. So like for her, when she goes and does that, and then you see the colonel that's on the ship, and he's just looking at her. why did everyone start shooting around and no one decided to shoot? I don't understand why no one shot her. It doesn't make any sense to me that you clearly know that she is controlling this somehow, and everyone's like, "Let me shoot up." No one was like, let's shoot the person who has no cover, who has no armor on them. No, we're gonna shoot everything around it. Then the general, just lets her come up to him, doesn't shoot him with his pistol, doesn't do nothing. The cool thing I did find though, I did love seeing the battle rifles that the Marines and stuff had when they were like thing. I was like,
I didn't hear the
battle
burst though. I got to go back and pay. I didn't pay attention to the like listening, but I didn't hear
that was cool. I was like, that's dope because you like, and I do love that about Halo is that Halo has such distinct weapons. Like you'll notice them immediately. Like, oh, that's a battle rifle. Like instantly, that's a DMR. Like you just know what the weapons are. So I did find that scene very.
Although the pistol was not the pistol. I don't know if you saw that. When I saw the Magnum in his hand, I was like, that's not it. Yeah, that's the only thing, but I'll let it slide, whatever. But
I don't know which Magnum that was though, because
it to me it looked like if anything it was gonna be the sidearm from 5.
Yeah,
because it was small, and I was like, small. Yeah, it didn't look like.
But yeah, so I think like I said, that's one of the cool things about this show that they're doing is that they're very incorporative of the things that are in the game, and they're very like they're very conscious of the game. I just wish, like I said, they are telling a new different story, a story we haven't seen, so they can have this free roam, right? And like I said, if all of this leads up to getting the Master Chief that we know, then it all doesn't matter to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like as far as the beginning goes, like you could put whatever you want. If that's the story you want to tell, and then we end up getting Master Chief, then I'm good with it. Like honestly speaking, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. Also, what a sad world that we're in that show, because you see Maki's background story of I guess it was like a slave trade something.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just like, man, everything like these people are afraid of the army. They're afraid of Spartans. Everybody's robbing, killing each other. I'm like, damn. The whole time I'm playing Halo, I'm like, I'm light years away from Earth, and I'm just holding it down out here. But like, what is there to protect? Like
again, yeah, there is, but even like the kid said that there is beautiful parts of the world.
Yeah,
and you can see the trees and all that stuff, and you do see some beautiful sights even in the game. I thinking, like I said, they're expanding the world, which I think is really good. Which is something that I love, and I think is a great purpose for TV shows is to have this world building that you can do. Like I said, I don't mind the story as much. There are some things that I just feel like if you can, and again, this is the thing about TV shows where it's hard to judge things episodically because when you're watching it like an episode, like I said, if episode 6 and 7 give us something that's crazy and very similar, then you understand what's going on with these first 5 episodes and what world you were building. It's just, again, for me, I just see the trend. I just don't like the trend that we're going in. Now, could they prove me wrong? Absolutely. They could prove me wrong and be like, hey, this was all a trick, a bamboozle. Here's what you want for the last 3 episodes. And it's just Chief going on a rampage.
Yeah, I also feel like the story's going the way of what we got the last for 4 and 5. Because I got the vibe that, I mean, I know Cortana's new, but the fact that she's like, let me take control, and she just wants to control Chief, already you hear it in her voice that she's like, she doesn't understand everybody else, and she's like, let me just do this myself. And I feel like we're going towards that area where like, oh no, Cortana's actually not good at all.
We haven't had that relationship build yet.
Yeah, I know, but so I'm waiting for that. But right now, like we said, it's up in the air. We don't know where they're gonna go. But her controlling Chief whenever she puts him under and everything like that, I was like, okay, that's kind of crazy. Yeah. The other thing
that, like I said, that was the reason. You see, and that's something that, like I said, I find very interesting in the sense that, like, I know why they did it. They put him in so she could do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it would make so much more sense if it was just the suit, right?
Yeah.
Like putting someone in stasis so that he couldn't do anything. That would make more sense to me than doing it to the human body.
But
Again,
also,
I know.
I mean, they're showing Halsey is a. I literally have it in my notes. I put Halsey evil scientist. She's a crazy
Mhm.
scientist, bro. Like it's gonna end up being, I feel like, Chief versus Halsey, and she's gonna be able to convince the UNSC that Chief is crazy and that they need to get rid of him, and then it's gonna go that way at some point. I don't know. Um, Also, a lot of the sanctions within itself of like, okay, the Spartan team does their thing, like we have our own research, and then the UNSC has their own research, and then um, uh, Keys's daughter has her own research, and everybody has their hands in different spots, and they're hiding it from each other. And I'm like, okay, so everybody's enemy, or what's going on here? But I wanted to point out the nail sword. I put it in my.
Yeah.
I thought that.
What? That was out of nowhere. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. I thought it was.
Cool,
I thought it was cool. Like whenever I saw, I was like, "What is that?" Because I thought she poked it, and then whenever I saw it retract, and I saw it on her nail, I was like, and I literally put in my notes. I put nail sword. Okay, and I put new weapon.
New weapon for sure.
Yeah, and also
it was dope.
she's, I know you said like, oh, why didn't anybody shoot her? Right? I think we're gonna find that out pretty soon because the way she's talking about like, whenever they're like, oh, what happens when you run into the demon? And she's like, I'll bring you the demon's head. I'm like, okay, so there's something with her that we don't know yet. And I feel like she's going to go ham at some point.
It doesn't matter. My thing is, though, even if you show us that, like, there's no way that no one's first reaction was to shoot the thing that looks like it was controlling those things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand why everyone was like, at least, like, if you want to show like a deflection or her, like, show me something.
Well,
But
she's
don't
like
tell
Frieza
me-
with her nail. She's just like,
Yeah,
like blocking
don't-
the.
That's fine. I would have accepted that. But don't tell me that no one was like, oh, let's shoot her because, like, she has no armor. She clearly is the reason why they're on the ship. I don't understand why no one shot her or tried to shoot her. Justify her not getting shot to me. Like, okay, maybe this didn't work. And like now we have to try to save ourselves. But for no one to shoot her just was really odd to me. I just didn't like understand that because I guess my first reaction would have been like, listen, maybe I just watch too much movies or watch too much thing. And if I see someone thinking that it looks like they're in control of everything else, I'm going to shoot the thing.
Yeah, definitely like
I'm gonna at least try.
don't go into the closet moment.
Yeah, like I'm gonna try to shoot that person. So I found that very interesting. But like I said, looks like we're about to get to a point where these next couple episodes we're gonna meet Madro, because I feel like Chief is gonna see Quam on TV or something like that, and then be like, oh, let me go save them, and
and see his friend because he was going too, right?
yeah, because he's going. Yes. So he's gonna see them, and I feel like there's gonna be a whole thing, and then obviously we have the storyline with which I find interesting what they're doing with the Spartans in general, just having Chief kind of like, leading a team of Spartans, which kind of like reminds you kind of like Reach in a sense,
But they're a little bit too follow-ish for him. They feel like they're treating him like he's God. Like I mean, the way the vibe that I'm getting from them is just like I also put at this point in the episode, I put cringe episode because we see the eye thing, right? Go in the eye, and then we see the moment that Chief puts the knife all the way in his back, bro, and you hear and she's like, oh, the point's there, and I was just like, okay. But also this is the thing, right? Another part of this cringe episode. So Halsey's assistant, creeper, weird guy, right? And then also, who's in love with Halsey? That's why he was trying to.
Obviously.
Okay, and then also while Chief's in the locker room getting his knife out, right in his back. Hold on, I have her name. We get Spartan Kai 125, right? Who's peeking around, and I'm like, okay, I get it. She's spying on him, like doing things, but also she had to have been in the bathroom the whole time for that to happen.
For that whole conversation, just staring at a naked Chief. you know. So yes, this was a really creeper episode. There was a lot of like I said, the show is a lot more violent than even I thought it was, but I
Mm-hmm.
guess it makes sense because the reason why we don't think Halo is as violent is because we're killing aliens. So when you think about it, it's not like oh, it is what it is kind of thing. But when they do it on humans, you're like, oh, like you know what I mean. So it is pretty like they are showing they're not afraid to show blood, that's for sure. Like I said, that Cortana trans thing was ugh. Like I as soon as I saw the thing like hook her eyes, I was like, I'm done. I was like, let me know when it's over. Like I can't watch it. I can't watch that. It's disgusting. I just can't. Stay away from my eyes. So but yeah, overall, like I said, I'm gonna watch it through because like I don't want to fully judge everything that I'm watching within the first 3 episodes. I know a lot of people like to give up on shows. I'm not one of those people. I've never been one of those people.
It's just a
I mean,
wavy. It's a
yeah,
wavy thing right now because it has its moments where I'm like,
it
this is
has
cool,
moments.
and then it has
Yeah,
its moments where I'm like, what's going on? So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm enjoying the I'm like I said, I'm having fun with the story. They do mention Reach. I didn't know
Hmm.
Chief didn't know about Reach.
Hmm.
That's what I got from
I
him. He's
mean,
like,
it
oh,
makes
that's where
sense.
I'm from. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So we'll see in that episode. Um, uh, yeah, and him also. I like the fact that excuse me. I like the fact that Cortana's not taking crap from anybody already
Oh
from
yeah,
the jump. Whenever she shows up and introduces himself,
yeah,
and he's like AI turn off or whatever, and she's
yeah,
like, yeah. So anyway, like it was
yeah.
nice to meet everybody, and you'll be seeing me around.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting relationship again because, like I said, for things like this where we've already had database on it, it makes it so hard to, and that's why I've always been a big critic of video game movies because it's hard to find a middle ground or like to please both fans.
yeah,
You're either pleasing one fan or you're, but again, I just feel as a gamer and as a person who's enjoyed these stories, I just feel like the only reason why other people haven't enjoyed the stories is because they don't like video games, not because the story needs to be changed.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for instance, like a perfect example is it's why I'm so scared of the Last of Us show. Because like
Oh,
I
I forgot that's
know,
coming.
yeah, I know what I want, and me being like Last of Us is like one of my top 5 favorite games, and knowing like that storyline, like the story itself to me is perfection.
I think they're going to. Oh,
You know?
okay. I think they're going to follow it uh,
Well,
pretty well. Just like on a side note, because of what I've seen, like there was a somebody got a recording of them recording in New York, and them running across the street, and I saw what characters were with them, in what
mhm.
scene it was going to be, and I was like, okay, here
Yeah, I
we
mean
go.
you can do that and still not give us a story that
Yeah,
it's
true.
supposed to be, but it could just be a moment. But again, I don't know, but I like I said, it's just that there's been a history of like video game movies, TV series. Like I mean, we haven't had many TV series, so I am interested to see what like the new platform of TV series can do. So I'm interested. I'm here. I just think, like I said, sometimes those stories get changed a little bit too much, and I feel like it's not about changing the story. It's just about giving that story to a bigger audience. And I think that's where a lot of these directors or screenwriters where they fail at is because they want to add that this like, oh, I want to add my own touch to these stories, and it's like, no, you could have just taken this perfect story and made it live action, and everyone would have understood it, and everyone would have been fine with it. So, yeah, that's what I think. But before we wrap up, favorite part of the episode.
Oh.
Okay,
Favorite part of the episode, man. I didn't really think about that.
we do it on every
Oh,
show.
oh, oh, because we didn't mention it. Uh, sorry, words. When Master Chief goes out and is listening to the music,
Yeah.
and he's in that moment of like he's learning about his feelings and everything. I thought that was a cool moment because we never see a vulnerable Chief. In Halo 5, if you guys have played, or sorry, not Halo 5, Halo Infinite, um, you start to realize Chief is aware, and you see a more vulnerable Chief, and I kind of enjoyed that. So I did like that.
Yeah, mine for me was like I said, the Halsey and Corey conversation. I'm a sucker for good conversation, and I felt like that was a good dialogue just between two very brilliant minds having like these like very tiny differences, but the story itself of having that conversation. And like I said, there's so many good things that can come from this show, and I feel like the potential is there. And like I can see it during the show, like you know what I mean. Like I can see the potential, and I could see like how all of these characters would work. But I think for me that would have been my favorite part. That is my favorite part for sure. So that is going to be it for episode 3 of Halo's Debrief. Guys, again, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you guys thought about the episode. We always answer the comments, so please like let us know what you think. Let us know what your opinions are. And again, if you want to be a part of the debrief, just let us know. You can let us know in the comments, all that good stuff. We'll be more than happy to have you as long as you can fit the time schedule. So, with that being said, we'll see you guys on Tuesday. Fire team out.